Hey everybody, I'd like to welcome all of you to another episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG. Today we have another special guest, Odalys. Odalys, welcome to the show. Please tell us
Thank
a little
you.
bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name's Odalys. I was in the Belleville Zion in New Jersey. Uh, I don't know what else to say.
how,
But
how long were you a member for?
oh yeah, I was a member for about almost 3 years, I'm gonna say. I know I had three Passovers, but I left right before the new year. So it would have been four Passover, but about almost 3 years, yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. So New Jersey, all right.
Yes.
Hey, I like that shirt. Shout out to that shirt.
Yes.
What's that
Yes.
say?
It says truth has nothing to hide. This is actually from Great Life Studios. As soon
Yeah,
as I saw that he had this, I bought it. I actually wanted to debut it on his interview, but my interview was moved up, so it didn't come on time, but that's all right. I put like
yeah.
I put a villain shirt on. I had like the villain from the Disney, so yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But
shout out to Jordan. I like that
yes,
merch. Truth has nothing to hide. So that seems
it's
totally
true.
different than the WMSCOG, who seems
Hmm.
like they got everything to hide, right?
Everything to hide. Yes.
So let's just jump right into it. Tell me a little bit like how did you get involved with the WMSCOG?
So we were right in the middle of COVID. I was working an overnight job. The kids were home from school, so I was basically being a full-time mom, teacher, full-time job. It was hard, but my youngest son, he was going through a lot. He was in therapy and it just wasn't helping. So I was very desperate. And some of the friends and family I had, asked for some advice. They said, you guys, you need God in your life. And we were never really religious. We tried going to a couple churches here and there, but they never stood. There was always something that either my husband was like, or I was like, no. Um, so a friend of mine who it's funny because my son is going to he's 16 now. I've known her for 16 years, but we were like on and off talking. The doctor we worked for way back in the day had passed away from COVID. So she reached out and, I told her, I'm so sorry, what's going on, whatever. In confidence, I told her, I'm going through some stuff with my son or whatnot. She was like, well, you should come to my church. So I took it as a sign of God, right? So we go for a few studies and whatnot. And the first thing they teach us is the Passover way to eternal life. Um, the studies are kind of, I kind of block them out now. But so, my son was very intrigued, and I was always very guarded, even before going to this church. But he was so excited and he was so intrigued, and he was like, Mom, I want to be baptized. I want to be baptized. So I think after like 2 months of going, we were baptized. I was like, well, can he be baptized? They said, no, they can't because he's underage. You need to be baptized, and then we'll baptize him. So I was baptized. And then a month after that, I regretfully forced my older boy to come and to get baptized. So he started studying. So it was kind of like the three of us for a while. And from there, it kind of took off. Of course, they love bomb you in the beginning. Everything is, oh, well, you want to stay for dinner? Oh, let's do this, let's do that. Let me, So it's this immense love and oh, the caring. And then one of the studies or a question that I think my son had was, why are we on this earth? What happened? And, they put that instantly that you're a sinner. You sinned in heaven, so now you're here. You have to suffer. So you're my son, and even me, like it does make sense. So we really wanted to really, make a change. Like I took it again as a sign, like, okay, this is it. Like I really want to take God seriously. I want this to work. So, so yeah, we all started going with the three of us, and then little by little things changed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this: how old were your kids when you joined the cult?
So my first son was ooh, 18, 17, about 15.
Okay.
15, and then the other one was 13. right. So they were teenagers. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
fairly young. Okay.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
so
young.
okay. So when you joined the WMSCOG, like you said, at first they were love bombing you and they did what they do
Mm.
to all the members. But when did you start noticing that that love bombing phase kind of start fading away and they start showing their true colors?
Maybe after maybe a year and some change, but it all changed once I started to pick up more missions or blessings because you start to see what's going on in other areas. Because in the beginning it was just I would do one or two services and maybe study until I finished all my studies and then the boys did their studies. And then by then you're indoctrinated. You're like, wow, this is it. I want to feel like I have to earn my place in heaven. So you want to start doing more.
Yeah,
Um, I volunteered to help in kids' room one night. And from there, I guess they saw how well I did with the kids. So they started to put me in a rotation in kids' room. Little did I know, by the way, I found this out later on, basically when I was checked out, that parents or mothers, I should say, because really none of the males are in there. The mothers who don't have children in the kids' room really don't need to be in the kids' room. My kids were, one was already in the young adult group because he was switched, and then the 13-year-old was in the boys' teenage group, right?
yeah,
So I'm like, oh, wow. So they were just putting me in there to, I mean, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so I started that, and then I volunteered for kitchen committee because again, I wanted to earn my place. I wanted to do more for the gospel, and so
yeah.
yeah. And those two
Okay.
things in itself, it's just kids room is a whole thing, and kitchen committee is another thing. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. I just looking back and just kind of thinking of my time there. Like, yeah, I definitely
Mhm.
feel sorry, for the members who have those kind of responsibilities. Because it's like I mean, not only is it strenuous on the adult, but man, even the kids. Like right now, when you
Oh
mentioned
yeah.
the kids room, like I want to kind of get into that a little bit because I know you spend a lot of time with the
Yeah.
kids and maybe you can go into depth a little bit about like the environment that the kids were in because I think a lot about like the time when I was in and I had my son, in the WMSCOG. We came in when he was about 3 years old, and like the kids room was always so small, like
Mhm.
nothing to do. Like it's just they would sit in a round table and like they'd be given like papers to read or Bible studies, and they look so miserable. Like even if I still have pictures and I look at my son and it almost makes me like want to cry because I'm like
Yeah.
it was so horrible like leaving him there now, and like even now that he's an adult, he's 18 years old, my oldest. He remembers those times, and he looks back and he's like, man, dad, I was not happy during those times. So I just want to get like your perspective, like since you were in the kids room a lot, tell me a little bit about that. How was that environment?
Hmm. So my very first time there, which I think they put you in there for a month. Yeah. So you rotate you're there for a month, and every 3 months you go back to the room. That's your assignment for the month. And for whatever reason, I always fell on feast months. That was fun.
Yeah.
So so my first year there, I was put in the baby's room in October, and whew, it's a lot, with the babies. I mean, they're babies, so and I haven't had babies in a long time because we're teenagers. So it was a bit of adjusting, but very quickly I learned that they don't want you to treat them like babies.
Yeah.
All the baby girls had to wear veils the entire time, even if they were sleeping during service. But they weren't allowed to sleep during service. One baby girl hated it. She hated that veil, and she would constantly take it off. And I hate to say this, but I have to admit it, I was wrong. I kept yelling at her, and she was a baby because the main teacher kept saying, you need to be strict with her. This is spiritual. It's a spiritual thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I felt really bad. They weren't allowed to have milk or water, anything between the services. For lunch, it's all very fast because with us, I don't know if you guys have that. We have the time change. So when we get the time change, the days are shorter. So that means that everything is shorter. So everything is fast. The babies need a nap. They try to give them a nap, and the big kids, they also get a nap. And it was just, and sometimes the babies didn't sleep, or if they did, they still slept during service like they're babies, and we used to have to wake them up, and they were so cranky. And one time I grabbed the baby girl because I knew she was tired. I said she needs to sleep in my mind, so I grab her and she fell asleep, and she's like, she's not supposed to be sleeping, you shouldn't be doing that. And I was like, okay, I'll put her down. But I think they kind of found out that once that teacher was transferred, because she was the main teacher there, and it was always, I think, two or three moms helping in each room, because we were a big church. So we didn't have just one room. We had a baby's room, we had the big kids' room, and then we had upstairs with the 8 to 10 and 10 to 12. And then 13, you get split into teenage girls or teenage boys. So each room had the main teacher, I think, plus two assistants and one of the teenage sisters helping as a third. So when she was transferred to Union City and I was still there for that month, I treated them as I would treat my own children, because that's what a mother does, right?
Yeah.
And I would make sure that they were changed, they were fed, or whatever. If they wanted to sleep, they could sleep. The baby girl who would always pull off her veil, she never napped. So she was always so cranky. So I picked her up one day, and I just held her because it's service. We're supposed to be quiet, right? And I think they found out. Someone must have found out because they never put me in baby's room again. When I started doing the rotation again, they put me in the big kids room. And that
Mm.
in itself is also another challenge because kids are expected to act like adults, and they're not. They have a 2 minute attention span, and then you're constantly saying, be quiet, or when you're supposed to be praying, because when you pray, you have to bow your head, and the boys should put their hands like this, and the girls should put their hands like this. You have to watch them. The boys are opening their eyes. Some kids used to fall asleep. They were tired. We used to have to tell them to stand up, to stay standing up. One boy in particular, I used to always tell him, you have to go wash your face. And he used to get so upset. And I think he was kind of on the spectrum because he hated being wet, his shirt. My son went
Yeah.
through that. So I know the signs. And he hated if his shirt got wet. He used to pull on his shirt and I'd be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's gonna dry, don't worry. So for them it was rough too. But with them it was more of a strict I guess teaching, because the main teacher, which I think in a way is good because you're a teacher, you're supposed to have structure, but they were teaching them everything about their beliefs. And a lot of these kids were on point. But some of them weren't, and they used to get disciplined for that, not by beating or anything. Like, I never physically saw a mother or a teacher hit someone else's child. I heard a mother hitting her own child in the bathroom, like really badly. But never like other stories that I've heard. And but yeah, the kids, they were not treated like kids. At one point, the Kwansanim, she banned the kids from going outside because they were too loud. That in Korea, when the kids go outside, they don't scream and run around. And so, imagine being there from, let's say the service starts at 9. When you're assigned to kids room, you have to be there by 8:15 because the sisters do a prayer circle before starting. And not
Yeah.
to say that you got to go pick up your folders, your tithe folder, your brown envelope, your offerings. So I was there by 8 o'clock. So imagine all those kids being there from 8 to 10, 11 in a building. That'll drive you crazy.
Yeah.
The older kids, they were, they again, they were kids. They had a little drama. They're going in through to that preteen phase with the hormones, and thankfully, I never really was put up there. I think I helped once, but and it was tiny. Even though it was separate rooms, it was very tiny. It was.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy because just hearing you say all that is like bringing back so many memories, and then I'm just thinking about like all the kids, like you said, they're treated like adults, and I would
Yes.
say that even in my opinion, they're treated worse than the adults. They're treated
Mhm.
like second class citizens compared to the adults because they're looked more as like baggage, I would say.
Yes,
You, you know,
inconveniences.
Yes,
Hmm.
because they want to focus on the parents because they want the parents to, do the gospel work and be used. And so the kids are always pushed to the side. And, I just imagine like from a kid's point of view, like having to be there like all day Saturday. Like what does that feel like? How does that affect them? And, just thinking about like, the kids who grew up in Zion and saw all the propaganda videos, the end of the world
That
videos, the
too.
hell
Hmm.
videos, because there is no filter. Whatever the leader is preaching, the children will hear that too. And you can see how strict they are, just like even from what you're saying, like we were told, like, yeah, the little babies, the sisters, they have to wear the veils and they have to stay awake. And I remember there was a missionary who used to always say, like, you can't stay awake during service, you need to put toothpick in your eyelids. That was
Oh my
missionary
gosh.
Michael. And yeah, it's like so crazy, so
Uh-uh.
evil. It's so
Yes.
evil, and so cruel the way that they treat the children. And so I just want to bring that up because if there's any parents that are members
Yes.
of the WMSCOG or thinking about joining the WMSCOG, think about your children. They go through a lot, and they're soaking everything up like a sponge, and so they look up to you. They're for you to protect them and for you to make the right decision. So the best thing you could do as a parent is really inform yourself of where you're bringing your kid. And a lot of the times, like, when I was a group leader in the church, sometimes I would stop by the kids room, and man, there's a lot of stories that I could tell you of how those kids were mistreated by a certain deaconess. Would hit the children, spank the children. She was Korean. And there's so many stories that we've heard, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of members have had similar experiences. So yeah, it's just one of those tragic things that go on in the WMSCOG, the mistreatment of
Yeah.
the children. But let's get back into a little bit more about your story, Odali. So, like,
Sure.
what are some of like the once you were in the church, and you started getting these blessings, they start putting more pressure on you. Like, was there any moments when you were in the church when you like noticed any red flags?
I noticed, but anytime I questioned it, it was brushed off or they gave me an explanation. One of the things that to this day bothers me is they are big on parental and children and spouse alienation. First, you see that the women, whether you're married to a brother who's in the church or not, women are one side, men are on the other. Kids are far away, right?
Yeah.
So when I first started, I used to study with my boys. I'm very protective of my kids. And immediately, the minute they were saying, okay, well, they need to start studying on their own. You need to build your own faith. They need to build their own faith. And my youngest, who was the main one who wanted to go, was being mistreated by the other boys. And, you know, every time he would bring it up to me, I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on. I would go to my branch, who was my friend who brought me in, and she kept telling me that it must have been something he didn't have in. It's part of his sin. He needs to grow in faith. He needs to write to mother. You should write to mother. So very quickly, they took away that parental instinct to want to protect your child, to stand up for a child.
Yeah.
So I kept letting that, and he was mistreated quite a bit, and I just let it go. And I know myself, if there were any situation, an example, he's in school, I'm right away. I'm there, I'm emailing, I'm making phone calls, what's going on, what happened with my kid. They took that away from me. And that's what they do intentionally. That's why the kids are separated. And that's why the parents are told that your kids shouldn't be your idols, because they don't want you to raise your kids. They want the church to raise your kids.
Yeah.
So that was something that, I do regret. Another big red flag must have been when I brought my mother-in-law. She was having problems seeing, so she turned on her phone to record a sermon, and immediately the sister behind me, she has to turn that off. She can't record. I was like, what? I said, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't even notice. I was paying attention to the screen. So we shut it off. Not even a minute after the service finished, I'm getting texts from my branch. I'm getting texts from my group leader. As we're walking upstairs to go into the event room where all the sisters meet to take the little break for coffee, whatever, cookies before the education or whatever's going to happen after first service, I'm met by someone else, a sister who became a deaconess. Oh, you can't record. I was like, yeah, I was already told by two people. So by the time I got upstairs, and my group leader, who's a Korean deaconess, reaches me, she's like, oh, Sister Odalys. I said, I already know. I was already told by three different people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah. So, they noticed I got upset. So, of course, damage control. My branch is on the phone. Oh, I got ripped into it too. I was like, what's the big deal? Oh, well, copyright and this and this. And if she wants to, the sermons are on YouTube and our website. I said, okay.
That's crazy. Thinking about that, like, what are they hiding that they don't
Exactly.
want to people to record? Because I've gone to plenty of churches after I left the
Mm-hmm.
cult, and they have no issue with record. Matter of fact, they upload their videos to Facebook and they go live,
Right.
and and so again, going back to your shirt, truth has nothing to
There's
hide.
nothing to hide.
It
Yeah.
almost seems like this place has more secrets than the Freemasons, I would say. They're more
Oh, yeah,
secretive than the
seriously.
secret societies. Like it's
Yeah.
so crazy to me. They definitely do that. They don't want you to record. They
No.
sometimes even prevent you from taking notes. I've been to a lot of
Mm-hmm.
educations where
Yeah.
they tell you don't take notes on
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then also,
Mm-hmm.
like, I remember there's times where we took notes, and then later on we were told we had to turn in those notes.
In
We
the
had to turn
notes.
in
Yeah.
the truth books that we had written on or whatever. Could you remember anything like that going on where you were at?
Not as far as taking them away, but yes. Oh, you don't need to take notes. You need to just focus on what is being said. You don't have to take notes for this education. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just we would just go for it because we're so lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
We're
Mm-hmm.
just obedient and just trying to follow whatever they say. But it's sad looking back at it now. So many years wasted. Let me
Yes.
ask you this, Odalys, like,
Mm-hmm.
so as you're going on, your years are passing in this church, like, what do you like? What's your mindset? Like, did you ever think about leaving? Did you have doubts when you were in there? Like, did you have
Um,
questions?
One time, I don't know why, but I looked up on Sung Hong on the internet, and his Wikipedia came up, and it said that, he had a family. And I was like, what? And then immediately the guilt, because, part of their indoctrination is to make you fearful and guilty. You're a sinner, you're a sinner, you're a sinner. Hell is coming. If you don't repent, you have to be ready. So immediately I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, father, mother. I won't question, I won't look again. So I didn't. But when the real doubt started to set was May of 2023. And that's funny because that's the month that Corey had transferred to Belleville.
Mm,
And Paul Cha is introducing, welcome Corey. She just transferred from New Windsor, and her face, Edgar, I'd never forget her face. She was not happy. And that's when like the big doubt came. Like I was like, what's going on? I can I really do this? This is a lot of pressure. But immediately, not immediately, but I was like, okay, I got to put that on the back burner. I need to pray. I need to write to mother. I need to pray. So, I kept going about it, but that was the same year that everything just fell apart. So, yeah.
yeah. And it's crazy how like us as members, like you can look at a fellow member when you're in the cult and you can see, you can see
Mm,
past the smile, past all of that. You can see what they're going through, I remember so many times also me myself going through a lot and being told by the leadership, like, we're 144,000. We're children of
hmm.
laughter. We're not supposed to show our feelings. 144,000 show no emotions, right? And it's so sad because what that does to you internally, like it's so bad. You can't. Let me ask you this: did you ever feel like you could freely express yourself, like how you really felt to
No,
anybody in the, especially leadership in the WMSCOG?
no. When I first started going through my mental breakdown, I really didn't want to tell anybody. I told my branch because she was my friend, and I told a deaconess that I had gotten close to who I really felt like she cared about me. Um, and when Paul Cha would see me, oh, why aren't you smiling? You need to smile. You need to smile. You need to smile. And I was like, I'm trying.
Yeah,
Um, but it came to the point that I told him. I'm sure everybody knew by then because I had told the deaconess, my branch, and my team leader because I was losing it. I was losing my mind literally. And so I felt like the sermons were for me. I wasn't preaching, I was not smiling, I wasn't preach practicing, I wasn't doing anything because I felt horrible. The only thing I was doing, and it was because everyone was texting me that I had to do it, was go to services. And I didn't even want to do that. I stopped
yeah,
working. I took a leave of absence. It was horrible. So by then I was like, no, I feel like this is he's really gunning for me. So I went
yeah.
into his office with the deaconess and I said, listen, I'm going through all this. I'm having a really hard time. I'm trying to get help. And I said, I feel like you're directing this towards me. And he was like, no, sister, this is a general for everyone. You need to take care of your health, continue to see your doctors, and that was it.
Yeah,
But I'm sure by then everybody knew. So
those are the kind of things that really make you think, like, one, that inside the WMSCOG, like the leadership knows, they gossip about every
everything,
single member there. So
everyone. Mhm.
100% they knew what your situation.
Oh
They were
yeah.
probably talking about it, behind your
Hmm.
back. And then, when they preach the sermons, I've been there. I remember when I would give sermons and, when I would get sent to Oklahoma or I needed to give a sermon in Wichita, whatever the case was, like they tailor the sermons for,
Mhm.
either a specific member, a specific situation, whatever needs to be done, and so it's so crazy how they gaslight you. And like you said, you walk in there, you confront him, and he just begins to
Yeah,
gaslight you.
pretty much.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, like, even let alone, okay, they won't admit to it. But did you ever feel like even when you told them you're going through a lot, you're going through all these situations, you really believe these people are your family, right? These people
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to be like your real family, even more so than your actual family.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like they really tried to like help you go through that situation, navigate your situation while you were there, or were they making it worse?
They were making it worse. The only one that I felt were the only two that I felt were being truthful was my branch, and I feel because we had that friendship before, and the deaconess that I got close to. And, I felt that she was genuine because everyone was my team leader, my group leader, the Korean deaconess. They were all telling me that I needed to preach, that I needed to pray, that I needed to write to mother. Um, my branch came over a couple of times to talk to me, even though she didn't help, because by that point, I don't know, I can't explain it, but when you're feeling that way, there really is nothing that anyone can do or say. You have to either find a way to wake up or do something about it, which I did. But the deaconess, one day I went to go on a preparation. I went to go clean, and she was like, let's clean this and let's go. Let's go for some yogurt. And we just spoke. There was no pressure to preach. There was no pressure to do anything but just talk. My group leader, the Korean deaconess, was sending me new songs. You need to listen to a new song. This is going to help you. And I said, none of that is helping.
Yeah, making it worse.
Exactly. So no, no, none of them came, not one of them. Actually, I'm lying. There was a sister. I wish I could say her name, but she noticed, and she right away, she was a Spanish sister, and she was like, "What's going on with you?" And I told her. She started crying, Edgar, and she hugged me. And she was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And later that day, she came. I still have the card, even though I don't really believe in any of that, but she put verses to look at. She's like, though these verses helped me. So that was genuine to me. But everybody else, the ones that I really thought were close to me, the ones that I felt were my sisters, no, they didn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So in other words, the mother's unconditional love that's supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
displayed in the church sounds
No,
like it's not an actual thing, right?
no, it's not. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so it's always conditional on whether you're doing the gospel work or you're a worker, right? If you're benefiting the
Yeah,
church in any way, and it's just so sad because I hear you say that, and I can see the pain, when you're saying that, even remembering those lived
yeah.
experiences, and it just makes me think like how many members are still in Zion right now going through
Mm-hmm.
so much, like whether it be financial issues, mental issues, like
Mm-hmm.
I know I had like really bad insomnia issues when I was going there, and even
Yeah,
after I left, just because of everything that goes on in that place. And you're just under so much stress, and you can't feel like you can talk to anyone about it,
anybody.
and like
Yeah,
you said, there is some people who are genuine people. I will say there is a silver lining. Like if there's anything that I can say that because it's hard to find something good to say about the
mm-hmm.
WMSCOG. But one thing I will say is I found some of the most beautiful people, like who we're still friends to this day, like a lot of members that have left now. And you meet some genuine people,
Yeah,
so I will say that. But like as far as the organization itself, like
no.
what they do to
Mm-mm.
people, and like you can't be yourself, and I think that does a lot of damage, if you can't express yourself, and also I don't think they incur like it, even if you were to speak out and ask for help, like they're not qualified to give you the help, because
They're
all
not.
their answers are is like you need to read Father's book more,
Mm-hmm.
you need to pray more, like you said, like they were trying to tell you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And none of that stuff helps, and it's sad because I just think of like the members that are still in there right now, and like, and again, you're told this is your real family, right? Even when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about your children earlier, how they try to separate you from them. And I remember that they used to always say, those aren't really your children. Those are father
Mm-hmm.
and mother's children.
Mother's children. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, man, so she must
Mm-hmm.
be a horrible mother then, because those kids looked, all messed up in there. None
Yeah.
of them looked happy, and it's just crazy. But I'm so happy to say you look like you're in such a better place now.
Oh yeah, for
Talk to me,
sure.
like, how has life been now that you've left the WMSCOG?
It's been much better. In the beginning, it was hard. I think I did the Great Light Studios interview a little too soon, but at the same time, I'm happy I did. because it was genuine, but I was very, very angry. Very angry.
Yeah.
So I sought out therapy. I went to a therapist, and right away after my my what is it called? Like, I guess you're interviewed to see if you need it or not, or what they recommend. She was like, "Yeah, you need therapy." I was like, "Yeah, I know I need therapy. This is why I'm here." So, but that helped a lot. Tremendous. I'm very glad. And it's that's my thing. It's very hard to find a good therapist, especially with us because we have that trauma. You
Yeah.
know, it's complex PTSD. So it's hard, but it worked out because the therapist that saw me, she was a trauma therapist. So she dealt with, PTSD and all that. So it worked out perfect. And it's not cheap. So this day I'm
Yeah.
still, making payments because,
Yeah.
but to me it's worth it because I know I needed it.
Yeah.
So, but after that, things got much better. My marriage got better because, that was very rocky. My relationship with my kids, we're much closer, my mom and my dad. My dad was there for all of us while I was hospitalized. He was the one taking my mom and my kids to these 5 a.m.s and 8 p.m.s, and he would wait there at 4:30 in his car while they did that stupid, half hour reading, and he would bring them home. He was the one taking me to, because I had started by trying to do a program. I really didn't want to go to the hospital. Um, he was missing hours of work to take me and bring me back because I wasn't driving anywhere except, of course, the WMSCOG. I was very, very anxious. I was paranoid. I even experienced some disassociation where I'm sitting in traffic one day and I did not know what was real and what wasn't. I could not tell the difference. I literally felt
Yeah.
like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Like I did not know what's the reality. And it was
Yeah.
scary. But my family came through. My mother, my father, my sister from another mister. She's a friend that I've known since birth. I call her my sister because she's a sister to me more than anyone. She drove from Florida and spent a week with me. She cried with me. She prayed with me. She was with me. None of them did that. None of them saw me at my worst. None
Yeah.
of them saw how bad I got. I got bad, and me and my husband's like, yeah, I think you need to go to the hospital and take care of this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so very interesting because I just want to reiterate the fact that when the crap hit the fan per
Oh yeah.
se, the family, the ones that you were under the impression that was your real
Hmm.
family, none of them were there. But your
Exactly.
actual family, the ones that I bet you probably neglected, probably didn't give as much attention and love to because we were in the cult, because
Hmm.
we were told they are not our real family and this is our real family. It's always your real family, your real friends that are there for you when it matters the most. And I think that that's very telling because there's so many stories that I could say also, like many members that I know that, when you're a gospel worker, when you're doing, well, no, never mind. I take that back. I know of a member who was doing the gospel work full time, tithing, bringing in members, and then he got into a little predicament. And as soon as that happened, they didn't even give him the benefit of the doubt. They just that guy's we don't associate with him no
Hmm.
more. He's an evil doer, and it's so crazy because they go from being supposedly your family and this unconditional
Hmm.
love, and then at the drop of a hat, it's like they don't even know you, and it's so
Yeah.
sad. But again, I'm so happy that right now, like you're telling your truth, and people can see like who are the people that are really there for you, so that the members can sit back and think like, how am I the way that I'm acting at
Hmm.
church, how am I treating my actual family? How am I, my kids, my spouse, the people that are there for me, how am I treating them? because in the end, they're the ones who are going to be there with you, hopefully, when you come
Mhm.
out of the WMSCOG. So,
I think
Odalys,
for the
man,
most part, I'm sorry. I think for the most part, family members do come. I mean, I know in my experience, and I like in most of the videos, interviews, the pit pod, the family comes through. They say just come home, or your actual family, not the church. Once they realize that, okay, they woke up, they're out, they need help, they come to help you. They do.
yeah.
I mean, I know in my case, right away, immediately, they were there. So,
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome because we need that.
yes.
When you leave, like there's nothing better than to eat. And sometimes you feel embarrassed. Like I know I felt embarrassed,
Oh,
like
yeah.
going trying to mend those relationships that we broke,
Mhm.
with family members, with friends, telling them they're evildoers, or they're
Yeah.
pagans, they're going to hell because they're not doing this and that. And when in reality it was the other way around,
The other way
like,
around. Yeah.
yeah. And so that's good. Let me ask you this, Odalis. What was the final nail in the coffin that made you like just up and leave that place?
When I came back from the hospital, it was like the veil was lifted. Things were different. I felt different. I got home a Tuesday afternoon, and right away, the first thing I get is a text from, I think, my team leader. Are you coming to service tonight? I said, no, I'm staying home with my husband and my cats.
Yeah.
And then I started going, and it just felt different. And I started to really pay attention what was being said. Obey. Your thoughts are not God's thoughts. Obey. Um, if you do, oh, this is what got me. Paul goes on the podium and he says, "If you do not preach, you are going to hell." And in my mind, I'm like, I guess I'm going to hell because I am not preaching. I
Yeah.
was doing everything, like you said. I was tithing, I was offering, and I was tithing for three. I was doing the brown envelope. I was preaching. I was doing kitchen committee. I was doing kids room. I was doing preach practicing, all those stupid little apps. You've been out for a while. They've added a lot of apps. I was
Mm.
doing my memo. I was doing Pray Daily, which is Father's books over and over and over and over, repetitive. I was waking up at 4:45 every day, regardless of feast or not, and I was waking up my kids so we could keep prayer time. I was
Yeah.
keeping all the prayer times. I would excuse myself like a crazy person at my job, go into the bathroom, veil and all, to pray at 9, 10:30, whatever times they were. I was doing everything, and I still ended up in the hospital. I
So
still
yeah.
tell me how big of a sin did I commit that I'm writing to you? I wrote a handwritten letter because the Korean deaconess was going to Korea. So they had me write a handwritten letter and put a picture. You think I got anything from even the deaconess saying, "Oh, mother read your letter. She's praying for you. She knows what." Nothing. And then my team leader has the audacity. When I come back from the hospital, they already knew because I was checking out. I was playing solitaire when they were in between the breaks. I wasn't paying attention to anything. My team leader says, "Isn't it just such a wonderful blessing from mother that you wrote to her and now you're so much better?" And I looked at her, I was like, yeah, but in my head, it's like, I'm better because I had to be hospitalized. I voluntary hospital my, went to a hospital to get mental help, not because of some woman. No, I was writing to her every day through the stupid, I don't know, it's some app that you go on there and you type a letter and you send it every day,
Yeah.
and nothing.
It's so crazy because
Yeah.
they tell you this lady is God, she literally does nothing for you, has
Nothing.
no idea who you even are. You have to
Are
wear name
name
tags
tags.
to
Yeah.
go when you go to Korea, because this lady that has no idea your name, she just memorizes a few cheap quotes in English or whatever language the members are visiting from. It's
Yeah.
like, what a crock, you know?
I
It's like,
love you. I love
yeah.
you.
I you
Okay.
know I remember that, like, there was a video of Deaconess Diane that I watched like a long time ago, and she
Mhm.
was explaining about how, mother had called her and was, telling
Oh,
her, Deaconess Diane.
yes, yes. I
Yeah,
heard this. I think on YouTube. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and
Uh-huh.
I remember I used to get angry when I watched that, because I was like, man, she's making fun of mother, and this,
Mm-hmm.
like, how could she, and mother cares so much. She didn't care. She was calling because she's trying to. She obviously benefited the church, so she wanted
Mm-hmm.
to keep her in. So she thought, maybe a few cheap words, would keep her in. It's like, lady,
Mm-mm.
if you really love these people, if you really think they're your children, how about you really try to help them? If you're God in the flesh,
Mm-hmm.
you already know what they need. Why do they even need to write you? You know what I mean? Like, if she's God,
Exactly.
if you're praying, you're doing all this, why doesn't she do anything for you? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's just, I don't know, it's just sad
And she
because,
sounded angry when
yeah,
she was talking to the translator. She sounded upset. Like, what are you saying to this guy? Like, you keep saying that you love her, but you're not addressing any of her concerns.
yeah.
Like I sat there and I listened to the entire video. I'm like, oh my God, this is just it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just everything is manufactured there, you know? It's like
Mm,
they want to be so spiritual, but once you see
no.
past it, like, you realize, like, these people are just snakes, you know? And but
Yeah.
no, I'm happy that you're out. I'm sorry for everything that you went through, but
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're getting the help that you need. You seem like you're in a lot better place, and I'm
Oh,
so
I
happy.
am.
Yeah, you look it, honestly, and I'm so happy for you. I'm happy for your family as well.
Thank you.
I thank you for coming to share your story. Let me
Yeah,
ask
of
you this:
course.
what makes you want to, like, share your story?
I just want people to know that this place is not a place of God. I want people who have mental health issues to know that it's not a sin, that it's not you, that there is proper help out there, whether you go the natural route or whether seek a medication. Um, I just want people to know that that place is not the place where you find solace and peace. You will never find peace there. You will never be redeemed in any way. You
Yeah,
won't. And I honestly, Edgar, I also want to thank you because you're doing a lot of great work. I don't want to say because I know you got, but everything that you're doing for us, everything that you're doing to get these people exposed, it's amazing. And I just want to say if anyone from Netflix or HBO or Hulu, anybody, we need our own documentary. We
yeah,
really do.
that would be fire.
I am volunteering as tribute to,
Yeah,
I want all of us to just come together. Raymond has heartbreaking story, Corey, Esperanza, you, everybody, Anthony, because I went down that rabbit hole. I started with Jeremy. I saw you. I did all of Great Light. Then I did all of the Pit Pod. I went on the examining site that Michelle I did it all. I went through every single episode and the stories. Like, I was just like, wow, this is really bad. And I do want to
yeah,
shout out Santiago. Santi, for him to really, because, we have a lot of psychological, emotional, but for him to be able to speak about that, the sexual abuse, the molestation of children, that is just not, and they're doing really good at keeping that hidden because a lot of stories that that we talk about and you hear once in a while, but no one has actually spoken out about that. So
yeah,
to me, that's big because
yeah,
now we have proof that you are hiding child molesters. You are
yeah,
keeping rapists and it's just like I was like, wow. So I think that I just want all of us to continue to tell our stories, to share. There's so many platforms out there. Esperanza's doing her thing. I know Kelsey has. I started an Instagram, but I got a little lazy with it. But I feel that the more people talk about it, the more people, share their stories. I just hopefully it'll get to the people who are trying to be recruited and to the members that are there because they're really, really good, genuine people in that place. And I really want them to get out.
Yeah,
I
I
do.
I think that's good, and I think it definitely will. Shout out to Santiago, and also,
Yes.
hey, shout out to Netflix, shout out to Amazon, shout
Yes.
out to all those places. Show us some love.
Come
We got a
on.
lot of story. We
Really?
got a whole community of people willing
Yes.
to share their story. So let us tell our
Hmm.
story. There's always two sides to every story, and I think that people would
Yes.
be shocked at the all the information that the members have collected over the years, and there's a lot of stuff to get into. I think it would blow
Yes.
the lid off that place. But yeah,
Yeah.
like also I just think of like I feel that for the longest time, the reason why they got away with a lot of the stuff that they got away with is because there wasn't like that many members or that many
Hmm.
platforms that were exposing them. And so I think like, they all kind of ganged up on Michelle, and
Yes,
so,
they did.
it's
Hmm.
easy to try to go against one person and kind of like, flip the narrative and create their own narrative, and say, oh, she's bitter, she's crazy, she's an evil spirit, she's this,
Hmm.
she's that, because she's only one person. And again, we always shout out Michelle, but again, like, really shout outs
Yes.
to Michelle because she's been going to war with them for such a long time, so many years.
Yes.
But like now it's totally different. It's a game
It is.
changer because
Mm-hmm.
now there's so many members who are speaking out, who are like getting together, and it's like they can't keep us silent anymore. So
Right.
I imagine like the church in Korea right now, like just shaking, because
Yes.
they know what's coming. They can't
Mm-hmm.
stop this. This is just the beginning. More members are coming out, and see, the thing is, they can say, "Oh, this person, he didn't have faith," or this person, he really never believed, or this person left because he wanted
Mm-hmm.
to follow the world. It only works when it's certain amount of members. But when it's so many members and they're all telling their story, and a lot of these members, their lives are getting better in so many
Yeah.
ways. They're not going crazy. They're not going
Mm-hmm.
out and just nothing wrong with doing other stuff, but it's like they make it sound like your life just goes downhill when
It
in
doesn't.
reality it's the complete opposite. Like everybody seems to be doing so much better. So, again, like thank you for doing this, and also like just want to let everybody know like this platform is open for anyone that wants to come share
Yes.
your story, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's story is significant. Like I think that people can relate to so many, maybe one person can't, relate to a certain story, but they can relate to another person's story or another
Exactly.
person's story. And so I think that doing these kind of testimonies is so important because it also gives us a chance to tell our side of the story, because as well as me that anytime any member leaves the WMSCOG, they tell 1,000 lies about you. Oh,
Of
this
course.
member was evil. This member
Mm-hmm.
actually told me this, this Judas Iscariot, all kinds of things. So this is our time, right? To
Yeah.
flip that narrative and to tell our story, to tell our side of things. So Odalys, I want to thank you again for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And let me ask you this, like, do you have any advice for like members that could be watching this right now and could be on the fence, could be thinking about, is this the right place for me?
Um,
What would you say to them?
is there current members?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a current member and you're watching this is your sign that it's time to go. It really is. Because if you have your doubts, there's a reason. Don't go to a member. Don't, no. Come to us. Come to the ones that have been there and reach out, ask questions. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to tell you to come, worship. No, we're going to tell you the truth. We're going to tell you our experiences, what we went through. And if you are watching, then obviously you're having doubts and you're in the right place. You're starting in the right place, and it's time to wake up and know you're not alone. We are all here, like Edgar said, we have a whole community. And please just think twice if just something doesn't feel right. It's not right. Always go with your gut feeling.
Yeah.
Seriously, go with that feeling.
Usually that gut feeling is right.
Yes.
We just suppress it. And I just want to add to what you just said. Truth has nothing to
Has
hide.
nothing to
Yeah,
hide.
nothing to hide.
Okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
So
So,
members, if
yeah.
you're listening to this, if you have a question, if you're kind of on the fence, what's the big deal about reaching out to asking, a former
Yes.
member? Like Odali said, we don't have no reason to lie to you. Come see, I guarantee you we kept our receipts. We know what we're
Oh,
talking about.
yeah.
We lived it. We've been there, okay? Like
Oh,
so
yeah.
like if what you believe is true, don't be so insecure about it. If it's the truth, it will stand no matter what, right? The only
Mm-hmm.
time that you should be worried is if you're following a lie. So ask yourself, if you're not afraid, then why are you afraid to ask these questions then? And
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I want to mention, since we talked a little bit about the leadership today, I haven't mentioned this in any of the other interviews that I did in my previous videos, but I want to open another invitation to all the church leaders out there, because I've been name dropping Missionary Michael, Pastor Daniel Part,
Mm-hmm.
and Deacon Murray, Deacon Adam, any of these deacons or elders that I have been on the phone with, that I've have lived experiences with. Hey, this platform is open for you guys too. If you guys think that I'm wrong or what we're saying is wrong, I'm willing to
Yeah.
debate anybody on live, and if you guys want to just have a conversation, I'm down for that too. So, this channel is really open for everybody. So, Odalys, for the a millionth time, thank you for
Yes.
coming on this
Thank you for
show.
having
I'm
me.
so grateful that you came, and I'm so glad that you're able to tell your story. And I'm so happy that you're in such a better place. And I look
Same.
forward to maybe doing a follow up video with you sometime.
Yeah,
Just kind of keep checking up on you, see how you're doing.
that'd be
Um,
great.
yeah. But any final remarks?
No, just keep doing the amazing work you're doing. Keep us in the loop, you know. Just know that we got your back. I know I do. And, just let's just do our best to try and get these people out and avoid anyone else from joining.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Well, Odalys, it was a pleasure having you on. And until next
Same.
time, thank you everybody for watching another episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day.